Hi, welcome to today's vlog. I am Sonia, and I definitely do want to say more to introduce this video, but I also want to get this routine done out of this towel and into a robe. So we're going to do the intro to this video while I'm doing my body care. I did already put some of the Naturium balm on my lips just because I didn't want them to be really dry, but before doing body care, I always put hypochlorous acid spray on my face first. The one that I'm currently using is this one by Honeydew Labs. I've definitely tried like 4 or 5 different hypochlorous acid sprays by now, but this one is definitely my favorite by far. And I do always put a little bit on my chest too, just because of how sensitive it can be sometimes. Also, if we're starting off, it is Saturday, so yesterday I did my everything shower and I shaved, and I was out of Ivory soap, but as I say all the time, I don't like to shave with anything but body wash. So the only other option that I had was my Naturium multi-peptide soap. I was open to trying it, but I was worried about how my skin would react. My skin has never been this soft and like smooth the day after shaving ever. So I don't know if I'm gonna make it a habit of using that soap to shave, but if my skin shows no signs of like a bad reaction or anything, I really might update my shaving soap to the Naturium multi-peptide. But as always, before I moisturize, I'm gonna mist off my skin just to re-dampen it, since I do fully dry off when I get out of the shower. So as you all know, I do always go with the body essence first, but I did finish my Cyclar bottle yesterday, and I do have 4 different ones now. I have this one by Abi Ame that I use now after chemically exfoliating, and I did just get the new Knock body toners, but I think I want to try the Pre-Cool half and half, only because I've had this one for quite some time and I feel like this might be a really good use. I did just do this manicure yesterday, so I'm a little scared of damaging it, but oh god, I hate these type of bottles. It kind of feels the exact same as the Cyclar. Doesn't really feel like anything different. Let's see how well my chest reacts. I realized one thing that helps my chest that is very sensitive and not breaking out all the time is keeping it like extra hydrated. I was avoiding putting my moisturizers on my chest out of fear that it would break out, and it will if I use fragrance things, but if I use like the Milky Essence and my unfragranced lotions and body butters, it actually helps it a lot. So we'll see how well it reacts to this. I wish I had a wider angle to showcase me doing the legs, but I mean, maybe I can drop it down a little bit. It actually does feel a little bit thicker than the Cyclar. The Cyclar breaks down a bit more when I put it onto my skin when it's damp. This one kind of stays the same consistency even with the water. But all I've really done before this to get ready is take my shower. I literally started filming the second I got out of the shower. I did my normal routine. I went in first. Actually, I washed my hair. But I washed my hair, and then for body, I went in with the Dr. Bronner soap and my sponge to cleanse. Then I used the multi-peptide soap and then the Glow Getter soap, both from Naturium. And I did exfoliate with my gloves, even though I may do so again in the evening. So then for fragrance, I really want to smell good at the base today, and I know I want to do a body butter. I thought of doing a lotion because I like lotions for the daytime, but because I will be out in the evening, even though I'm getting ready now in the daytime, I want something that's gonna last me a long time. Body butters last a long time moisture wise, and then the fragrance of this body butter is out of this world, and it remains on the skin for such a long time. This is Saltaire's Saltwater Vanilla Body Butter. This though, I do avoid in my chest area only because it's fragranced, and I do fear this will break out my chest. Definitely one of the best fragrances that I have found this year in body care. Yes, this works really good with the Pre-Cool body essence. Perfect. Now that I'm moisturized, you do want to know I like to do one more layer of moisture. My body balm, I'm using Palmer's Haitian Vanilla. I definitely need to find more of these. Like, I'm curious to know if there's different brands. Not because this one doesn't work. This one is great. I just always like to try every possible formula of a product that I like. And now the last thing to seal everything in is some body oil. I'm gonna use my oil mixture today. I've lately been curious about the Saltaire oil, and I do want that glass bottle because I can definitely reuse that. Yeah, this is a very nice finish with the milky essence. Okay, the skin does look really good with this little layering that we have going on. So now that the body care is done, it's just time to do some scent layering. But I think I want to wait to do my fragrancing and my deodorant until later when this is all pretty absorbed. So let's just switch right into my robe. Okay, so this is the robe that I think I want to wear to let everything absorb, only because it's pretty thick and it's cute, it's white. So now I can move over to my little foot care section. Okay, so I've not yet chosen my shoes for the evening. So I'm gonna do my whole foot care routine in the case that I need to have my feet, like I'm gonna wear shoes without any covering. I am gonna lay this towel down on the ground just because my feet do get a little sticky with the Aquaphor. So the first thing that I do is use this little pumice stone with a handle. It's not as thick and harsh as other pumice stones, but I found this to be much better for like daily use. And I always get all around my heels and then the sides of my feet. So now, before moisturizing, the same as the skin, I'm gonna mist my feet with this water just so that my moisturizers can be more effective. And what I've been using for my feet that's been working really well is this Urea Body Serum by Naturium. A lot of people said this feels sticky to them. I don't know if it's because I use Aquaphor after, like directly after, so I can't really feel the difference of it on my skin. This might be the last time I use this because the way that I have to squeeze this, like to get the Aquaphor out. I'm also gonna wear some socks just to let this soak in my feet while I'm getting ready. And I keep saying I'm gonna throw it out after I use it, but I just feel like there's still so much in here. Okay, and now my foot care is done. I also just let some light in here. It felt a little dark, but you know by now, I run entirely on like really strict schedules. My mind can't function if I don't have like a set list and a line of everything I need to do. I did write out in my iPad everything I had to do today to get ready. So I already showered, washed my hair, did my body care and foot care. Now next is facial stuff. I want to do my gua sha. I didn't do it this morning because I figured I can do it now after showering. So I do want to do my gua sha, clean up my eyebrows just a little bit. They don't need too much maintenance, so just a little bit. And wear a face mask just to bring some hydration to the skin. But I haven't drank my tea yet today, so I do want to go ahead and drink my tea now, like make it now and drink it while I'm doing my facial stuff. So we're gonna move to the kitchen really quickly and make my tea. I honestly should have set my kettle to warm the water earlier, but I'm just gonna do it now. I don't intend to use too much water. I'm only making 1 cup of tea, so it shouldn't take too long for me to warm the water. Okay, so now that I'm done with my tea, I'm gonna give it some time to sit and set. I want to start first with doing my gua sha because my face does look very puffy. And I did come in here earlier and put my jade roller and my gua sha in this ice bath. I usually would only put my jade roller in the ice bath, but because I'm doing this a little bit later into the day and I've been up already for a few hours, I figured I should ice my gua sha as well. Now the way that I do this is with cleansing oil. I feel like it works the best. I just use whatever oil I'm using on my face currently. Right now I'm using the Centella Light Cleansing Oil. I actually really do like this oil. And I do a few warm-ups to open up my lymph nodes before gua shaing, but I also like to do that with the oil already on. It's a little unfortunate that my wrist things are drying right now, so I'm gonna have to do this without anything on my wrist, which I know is gonna be really, honestly, that might be a little too uncomfortable. I'm gonna go see if they're dry and I'm able to use them now, because I'm already imagining the nightmare of doing this without anything to hold the water from getting down my arms. Okay, yes, they're dry. I did restart the dryer for the other towels to have another cycle to dry a bit more, but these are dry and good to use. So like I said, the first thing I go in with is my cleansing oil. I do like 3 to 4 pumps. And I do bring it down my neck just a little bit because I do gua sha my neck. So the massages that I do to open up my like passageways pretty much is I use 2 fingers and I go right here in front of my ear and behind my ear, do a few little circles here. And I do all of these with a really good amount of pressure so that I can make sure that they're actually open. Next, however many fingers is comfortable for you, I just use all 4 and I go here from the bridge of my nose onto like my under eye area. That one always opens me up. Then same, I use all 4 fingers. You can use 2 or 3. And I do this area right here in like the middle of my eyebrows pretty much. And I do circles here. The area between your collarbone and your traps where it like goes in, I do this a few times. Do a few on the underarms. Going in with my gua sha, taking it out of the ice. I think I'm gonna leave, you add a little bit of oil onto this just to help it slide a little bit better, especially considering that it's cold right now. Yeah, the oil is like hardening on it. Going with the long side downwards, the short side upwards. And I really only do like 5 to 6 passes of each exercise, starting here in the chin. Also, another important thing when gua shaing is keeping your head, your head like tilted back, your chin up. That also helps you in pushing everything like down and out from your face. So don't gua sha like this. Make sure that your head is like tilted up. So the first thing is right here on the chin. Go up, bring it back down. Now straight with the long end, I'm gonna go from the bottom of my like where my lips meet up to the high point of my cheekbone. And then I bring that down the neck. And you can really use your bones to like guide yourself. Then I do a little bit here just to lift this up before turning it this way. And now the cheekbone. Now going it this way and the under eyes up. Now that I've got everything up here, I'm gonna go this way and just bring it all down the face. So I'm gonna do the same thing I did on this side onto the other side. Okay, so now that the face is done, I kind of haven't been doing my forehead lately. It would irritate me a little bit too much before when I would do my forehead. So now I'm just gonna move on to my neck area. I don't know why, but my favorite part of gua shaing is doing my neck. So again, head stays up. First move that I do is from the chin back to the neck down. I do like 8 of these. Now same thing, but going to the side and bringing it out further. And both sides, of course. I just carve out my whole neck going downwards all the way across. I do like about 5 to 6. I cut it into like 4 or 5 pieces. I might just do 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I do like 5 to 6 passes for each. And just like that, quick, easy, simple gua sha routine. It does get a little bit more intensive sometimes, but for now, I don't really need a really deep gua sha, so I'm gonna wash this off first and then wash my face off so we can jade roll. Before anything, I'm gonna put my Naturium lip balm back on. I don't like my lips being dry ever. Okay, so now moving on. I don't know if I can still call this a jade roller. I only say that because all the ones I've ever had have been jade, so I got really accustomed to calling them that. But this one is pink. I think this is quartz. I don't know. I'm not gonna act like I know. I'm taking it out of the water just to get all the excess water off of it. I'm not as structured in using this as I am with the gua sha. Granted, I do have a routine. I do have like ways of passing it, but I'm not super structured. So the first thing that I always do is this whole area underneath your cheekbone. I'll use the big side and cover that whole area, and I'll do like 7 to 8 passes going up, and then just I go up and down, but I put more pressure going upwards than downwards. Then I do the same thing on the actual bone itself. Now turning it straight on the smile lines. Then same large side on the under eyes. And it covers it a little bit more spread out instead of like super intentionally. So I will go back in after this and now use the smaller side. Run it through the ice a little bit, because in holding it in my hand, like right here, it does kind of warm up a little bit. So I do run it back through the ice and now go all the way from the inside outwards on my temples, and then a little bit on my eyelid. And then lastly, a little bit to lift up the bone again right here. That side is done. Now I repeat it onto the next side, adding ice back onto the bigger side. And getting some ice on the bottom again. And then carving out the bone. We're gonna do my forehead. I don't use the forehead. I don't use the gua sha for my forehead, but I do it jade roll on my forehead. For this, very easy. 5 in the middle, 5 on the side. Like, as I do each pass, I slowly come it down to the eyebrows. So 5 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 in the middle again, and then 5 that way. So very simple. Now, lastly, moving on to the neck. For this, I really will just kind of go all the way around. Same as the last motion that I did with the gua sha. When I get to the shoulders, I go get this area a little bit. And that is all for my gua sha and jade, well, roller exercise. I'm gonna pick all this up and move on. The next thing that we're doing is my eyebrows. Okay, I'm back. I also added a little bit of lighting to make it brighter. I had to take a second to send something over to a brand, but it is time to do my eyebrows. Like I said, I don't need the most intense amount of maintenance today. I've lately kind of have just been letting them do whatever, since I'm trying to get into a, I don't want to say a thinner eyebrow, but just a more straight eyebrow in a sense. I feel like my eyebrows are kind of straight, but then they start dragging down at the end. So I'm kind of giving it some time to kind of fit my face a little bit so I can really decide what I want to do, because I feel like I'm changing my eyebrow shape every month now. I'm going to keep the same general shape and structure I have right now, just clean up the areas around and trim a bit of the ends because it's not very even. And I do think that I'm going to do a full face today, which means I'm going to want to carve out my eyebrows. But the routine that I do for this is very easy. All I'm using is a napkin, an eyebrow razor, these little scissors, and a small little spoolie. So I just comb them out. First priority is the area in between my eyebrows. Just get that cleaned up a little bit. Very easy. Now, the way that I clean up the tops but still keep them in a shape is that I grab the arch of my eyebrow and lift it up a little bit, and then I will just shave this downwards. I don't know how this works, but it does. Granted, this is not to get the eyebrow hairs, just the little perimeter and the hairs that grow around. The actual eyebrow won't really be impacted too much by this. It's just to clean up the perimeter of it. Very simple, very easy. This is why in the past I preferred getting my eyebrows threaded, so I wouldn't have to worry about this, but it's okay, I'm doing fine without threading them. Now I'm gonna lift it up again and do the same thing, but this time on the bottom. And you can tell this is me doing just an eyebrow trim and not full maintenance because I'm not using a close-up mirror. I'm kind of just doing this in a regular standard mirror. Now that the perimeter is cleaned up a little bit, I'm gonna go ahead and trim the hairs that are growing unevenly. The way that I do this is with the scissor and a spoolie. I comb up and then I get to the tips. I like try to hold on to as many tips as possible. Of course, if I'm doing this, the little hairs that are staying on the spoolie, the higher I bring it up, are the ones that are grown out the most. So I do it until I'm at a regular length. All these extra hairs are getting cut. One eyebrow done, on to the next. Now I wasn't gonna do this originally, but if you ever feel like your eyebrows are dragging your face down, in which I do right now, your tails, cut them in just a little bit. Nothing super dramatic, just a little bit. And whenever I do trim them, I also like re-thin them in the end again so it's not too obvious that I just trimmed them. Okay, and eyebrow maintenance is now done. Now the last thing to do is to put on my face mask. I also really want to take a sip of this tea, but I can almost count on the fact that it's not cooled down yet. It's actually the perfect temperature. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but this is green tea, and I did add 2 slices of lemon that I have left over from my lemon water this morning, and honey. I'm drinking this because I want to have a tea in my stomach before I eat any dinner, and green tea is probably the best for your digestive system before eating anything. I want a 2-part mask today. I have a million different masks, but not many 2-part masks, so I'm gonna do the Biodance collagen mask. Now, I'm very notorious for being really bad at putting on masks, so let's hope that I do this somewhat properly today. Okay, so far so good. I think where I mess up is I start touching them too much. I'm not gonna do that today. And I think I'm gonna use the little pieces for my under eyes. Okay. I think I did pretty good today. I'm gonna flip the nose up because I don't like when it's like covering my nose like that. I have a little piece from the mouth left. I think I'm gonna put this on my forehead because I could never cover my humongous forehead. Okay, this isn't horrible. It doesn't look picturesque, but compared to how I usually put masks on with like cuts and tears everywhere, this isn't too bad. Also, I did do a manicure yesterday. I trimmed my nails down just a little bit. One of them on this hand, it did break, so I just brought them all down to be a little short. Love the look of them, and it is really easy to work with nails this length. Okay, so I did change my robe because the next thing to do is style my hair, and I can already see myself getting really hot in that robe, and my products are all pretty well absorbed into my skin by now. My chest is like dried down. That's why I like measure how everything is absorbed. So it's now time to style this hair. I really would love to wear extensions today because I do want to do my hair down, but we're gonna see and cross our fingers and hope that my hair has grown and is full enough for me to wear it on its own. Fingers crossed. If not, if I do go ahead and style it and everything, and in the end I kind of just don't like how it looks, I'll either do a tied style or just add in the extensions after. But I do want to give my short natural hair a try for today. So let me get all the things that I need to first blow dry my hair. I think I'm gonna blow dry it, add some products into it. I'm gonna blow dry with the round brush, straighten it, bump the ends a little bit, and then put the rollers on to add some volume and body to the hair. And we'll see how that turns out. I'm missing like 2 products, but I think I'll get by just fine with what I have. I use this Redken 25 all-in-one treatment. I use this first. I always put this on my hair when I wash it. This definitely doesn't feel very full, but I have this Color Wow Dream Coat Heat Protectant. It feels like there's nothing in here, honestly, but I'm gonna try to get out whatever I can. And then I have been using this peptide hair bonding oil serum from COSRX with, usually I use this when I wash my hair with the shampoo of the same line, but because I don't have any other serum right now, I'm just gonna use that one. I'm done with the sides. All I did was 3 on each. I did 1 medium for the bottom piece and then bigger ones for the 2 middle pieces because I don't want it to be a curly bob. I want it to be a straight bob with some volume and body, so I don't really need curls per se. That's why I'm straightening it kind of outwards and just curving it as I go down the middle. Now for what I do here is I break in 3 pieces. The back piece goes back and then curled. The middle piece goes back and then curled. And the front piece, I curl it forward and then flip it back. Okay, so now that I have all my rollers in, I did put a bunch of clips for this one only to keep it stable and because I have a lot of flyaways and I'm hoping this will help some of them come down a little bit. I already know it's going to be a little bit of a frizzy hairstyle, but it's okay. Also didn't notice that I was out of my big bottle of hairspray, so I only have the one that I travel with, that I like take with me in my purse. I mean, I was gonna take this with me in my purse today anyways, but I guess I'm gonna have to use it now to style my hair, and hopefully I have some left over in here to bring with me later. Whew, that got right in my face. Now the next thing on my list is makeup, and after that it's just a matter of getting dressed or whatever. It's 2:32, I still have a good amount of time, and I want my mask to really be dry. For me to do my makeup. It's still really like wet in some areas, so I'm probably going to wait until like 3 o'clock. My skin, it definitely feels like a pretty good base now to my makeup on, so let's go ahead and move on to the vanity and get this makeup look put together. I definitely feel like my makeup today is gonna take me like an hour and a half. So I am gonna switch the angle, of course, when I get around to doing my makeup, but I did kind of want to find not an inspo per se, because I feel like every time I do my makeup I do it the same and then I kind of just mix it up based on how I'm feeling that day or how I know my outfit's gonna be, where I'm gonna be, things like that. Also, I'm still a little bit like indecisive of what I'm wearing, so I really can't base it on that. When I do makeup, I like for my makeup to look natural. I don't like for my face to change, but I just like for my features to be insinuated, have some like flair to them. So I don't need to do anything else underneath to layer, and I don't want like any heavy layering. For primer, I'm going to use the Maybelline Grippy Serum because I do want makeup to last a pretty good amount of time. I do layers of this because I really like to make sure that I'm getting it in every possible part of my face. I'd like to give my primer some time to really settle, so I'm not kind of just like smearing it around with other products. So while this is sitting, I'm gonna do my eyebrows. I think I'm gonna carve them, not like so much, but I am gonna carve them a bit. And I did break my larger makeup spoolie, so because I have a million of these, I've just been using these. For eyebrows, I'm gonna go in with e.l.f. Brow Lift first to get them shaped and laid down. And for this, I just like to brush them all up to get all the hairs uniform in this direction. And then once I have them all up, I'm just going to use the side of the spoolie and get them into the shape that I want. Definitely not an ideal eyebrow day for me. I always feel like whatever day I do my eyebrows, I just don't like them that day, and I come to like them days later. Like right now, I really don't like them at all, but I guarantee if I look back at this video in like 3 days, I'm gonna be like, oh no, they look good. Okay, I feel like this is as uniform and even as I'm gonna get them right now, and I'm not gonna keep going back and forth. I feel like the arch on this one is much stronger than the arch on the other one. Okay, so now to carve them out, I'm gonna use this Maybelline Fit Me Concealer in shade 022 Wheat. And then to make sure that I get a pretty straight and even line, I use this sharper, like flat angled brush, kind of like that. And instead of me putting the concealer onto my skin, I just put it on the side of the brush, a pretty like generous amount, without like putting too much to where it's gonna be like a blob. And I always start at the bottom and just kind of draw out pretty much the perimeter of my eyebrow. I like to do it in sections. I don't like to do a whole eyebrow. I like to make sure both bottoms are even and then both tops, and then I do the center last. Now that I have the bottom of both of them carved out, I'm gonna go back in with this, coat the brush again, and do the top. This part I sometimes, well, I don't tend to mess up here, but if I ever do mess up my eyebrows, it's always on this part. Okay, so now that I have them carved top and bottom, I'm gonna do the inner part to like separate them in a sense, and then close off that front part right here. And I do them going the opposite direction the inside, so this eyebrow will go this way, this eyebrow will go that way. And I feel like it helps to lift them a little bit. Okay, so now this next part, can be tricky. I'm gonna draw lines to make sure that I'm meeting the bottom corners the same, and then do the same on the top. Now that they're like carved pretty strictly, I don't like for my eyebrows to look like they're drawn on. I like them to look natural. To make them look natural, I'm gonna blur these harsher lines out a little bit with the brush first. This is also good to start getting some concealer on my eyelid, to start already having a base on here. For if I ever do plan to do eyeshadow, it's kind of already like covered with the concealer. Blending with a flat brush like that will only get you so far. So now I'm gonna use an actual beauty blender and really blend out all of the concealer. And I try to bring it out as far as I can, because the further out I go, the more natural the eyebrows are gonna look, even though they're carved out. Okay, so now that the eyebrows are done, I'm gonna move on to actually getting my base, my makeup done. So I always start first with spot concealing. And I'm gonna use the same concealer that I use for the eyebrows, the Maybelline Fit Me in 022 Wheat. And I'm just gonna cover areas that kind of like show any imperfections on my skin, even if they're not like super ultra visible. If I can see them, I'm gonna cover them. And then I do like to add some right here on the corner of my mouth, as well as my smile lines, and then around this bottom corner of my nose. And with this down here, any excess that I have, I do use it to start concealing my under eye. So I'll bring up any excess, and blur it out up here. But for now, this is the only place where I'm applying concealer. And I'm gonna start using my setting spray now. I use the Milani Make It Last. I'm gonna do a layer of this just to help it start melting a little bit into the skin. And so that once I do start blending it in, it's not really spreading out and it's staying kind of concentrated in the area that I'm trying to cover, so that I don't just have a face full of concealer. So I also do like to give this a few minutes to sit on my face for the most coverage. This is a time where I'll pick what foundation I want to do for like the day. I do have e.l.f. Halo Glow, but this is more of like a daytime foundation to me. I can use this at night, but it definitely suits more of like a daytime look, so I'm not gonna go with that. I have the Maybelline Fit Me, but this one honestly can be a little bit dry, and I don't want this to get like super dry before the evening comes around. This e.l.f. Soft Glam I like to use for the gym, or if I'm like in a rush and I really feel like doing my makeup. I kind of assumed I was gonna use this today anyways. This is the Naturally Luminous Longwear Foundation, and I use this in shade 210. What I am gonna get out while this is sitting is the cream bronzer, blush, and concealer that I'm gonna use. For cream bronzer, the only one that I have right now that I actually really like is the Milani Cheek Kiss. I use this in shade 110. Hey Honey. I used to use the Milani cream blush as well, and I still have it, but lately I've been using this Morphe Cheek Thrills trio, and I've really been enjoying not only how the color looks on my skin, but also how it like settles over time, and how well it sits on my skin. So I think I'm going to use this for my cream blush and my powder blush today. Now for the concealer I have for spot concealing, I don't blend it twice. With my usual concealer, I will go in with a brush and then a beauty blender. But for this, since I want to keep it in the same place, I don't really need to blur it so much. And I kind of want it to be like covered instead of blurred and natural. So I kind of just use a beauty blender and blend it all into place. Okay, so I've gotten the outer areas, like the little tiny marks. Now for these areas, I am a little bit more intentional. For the area on the side of my mouth, I kind of keep it in place and bring it out a little bit to like the other sides. For my smile lines, I will bring it down just a little bit and then really focus it on the smile line itself. I also like to bring a little bit of the excess underneath my lips and on the chin. Now, as I mentioned earlier, any excess that I have from this area, I will bring it up and start to blend out my under eyes, kind of just covering wherever I can, really. And I kind of like to bring it up on the side of my nose all the way to the bridge, really. Now onto this side. So now the spot concealer is done. For my foundation, I like to use this larger flat brush. It's really full, kind of blending but also keeping the coverage there. Now in earlier times I would put the foundation on my face or on the brush, but I have learned that putting it on your skin and like on your hand and then grabbing it, letting it warm up, letting it warm up in the face a little bit is actually better for it blending easier into the skin. And it does make quite a difference, especially if you're wanting like a full coverage makeup look. If you don't have time for it, you can really just use any other method. But if you do have time for this and you want your look to be pretty full coverage, like this is definitely a good step to add in. That's why I always keep napkins with me at my vanity. And I really only needed like about 4 pumps of foundation for this amount. Now going in with the brush, I'm gonna start on my neck just to kind of not let that sit for too long. The rollers are keeping my hair out of my face, but the flyaways are still pretty present, and I'm trying not to get them caught in the makeup because they did get caught in my mask quite a few times. Now, of course, as with concealer, you can't really expect your brushes to really blend everything out all the way for you. So I do always go back in, of course, with a beauty blender. I feel like the brush is kind of to spread it out, get it evenly dispersed on your face, but it's not gonna really blend anything in. And I also do like using this to pick up excess because there will be excess product, and if you just keep putting makeup on and not like getting the excess off, it's just gonna pile. Not only is that super uncomfortable, but it also doesn't look good, and it causes like creasing. It can make your skin really oily. Then I got it all blended pretty well. I love the finish of this foundation. It's very hydrating, very clean, but it makes your skin look very, very porcelain. I don't know if the camera is like picking it up very well, but it's a very, very nice finish. Now going in first with my cream bronzer. I like to use this flat yet angled brush. And again, I'm using the Milani Cheek Kiss in shade 110 Hey Honey. I wouldn't say I'm gonna go really heavy with this, but I am going to put quite a bit on, only because I didn't notice when I grabbed this that this shade is really close to my skin tone, so it doesn't appear much on my skin, especially with the layers that I'm gonna put above it, but it still does warm up my face pretty well, so I'm gonna keep using it. But I do think I need to put quite a bit on today, pretty close to my skin tone. I also might close this window because the lighting isn't even, so I can't really see both sides of my face the same. It definitely is like darker behind me, but that helps me see my face better in the mirror, and it makes it a bit more even, so that I'm not like having an unbalanced base. Now for the forehead, I'm gonna just bring it down and then meet it in the temple where I ended off when I was doing my cheeks. Onto the jaw, I put quite a bit here, and then whatever is left over is what I'll use for my neck area. In case it got a little bit brighter, I did just have to reset my light because it died. But now doing a little bit of this on my nose. I don't like to put a whole lot. I really don't like to put any, but I'm gonna do just a little bit. I like to do a shadow underneath my nose to lift it up a little bit. Then I will do a little bit here. So now that the cream contour is on, I'm gonna go on to blush. The shade that I use this in is Beach Bonfire. And I'm gonna go in with the cream blush. And I use the same exact brush, obviously a different one, but the same exact brush as I did for the contour. For this, I've changed where I put my blush. I used to cover all of this in here. It just doesn't work for my face, so what I do instead is I do focus quite a bit right here first. This is the first place I go. I focus quite a bit on this corner underneath my eye. And then my eyelid, bring that out a little bit. Then I go in a second time, do the same thing again. And then whatever excess I have on the brush, I'll just bring it up to the higher point of my temples, back down, and that's all. That's the only place that I've been applying my blush now. Then I will get a little bit, do a bit on the forehead, a bit on the chin, and then on the bridge of the nose, and then the bottom of the nose. So our base regarding warming and adding some structure is done. I'm gonna go in with my concealer. I'm using Fenty, I think this is the Hydrating Longwear, yeah, Hydrating Longwear Concealer in shade 210W. I apply quite a bit of concealer when I'm doing a full face like this, so right there on the chin, a little bit right here. Then from the middle of my face, I can see my cheekbones pretty well, so I just follow them and go up, stopping like in the middle. And then flip it, add the excess here so I can have some when I'm blending. Then I'll do a little bit right here, and I'll use that later on as well. Now going on to this side. Now going into the under eyes. I used to do quite a bit here as well, but I also changed this too so it can be cleaner. So one, I don't go all the way up to my eye anymore. I stay a little bit beneath my under eye so it doesn't pile up too much right there. So I go here, fill this area in, and then a little bit down here, and then a line out here going outwards. And lately, this alone isn't enough, but it's fine because I do layer it and I will come back in to brighten the inner corner just a little bit, so it ends up working out in the end. Now this, I do give a little bit more time to sit than I did with the spot concealer, but I also do add some of this Milani Make It Last. So now I'll give this like 3 to 5 minutes and then come back to blend it all out. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes. When blending out concealer, I like to use a brush first and then my beauty blenders. So I use this like flat top, I guess you can call it, brush. And it's really full, so it's not gonna move a lot when I'm blending. As I mentioned earlier, the brushes are always to kind of spread it out evenly, and then the beauty blenders are more so to like blend it in, blur it out, pick up the excess. So for this, I like to concentrate it mostly on my chin. Then I will bring it up and kind of line out my lips. I let that settle, go onto my forehead, bring this down just a little bit, not too much. I've learned my lesson with that. I used to bring it all the way down. That is absolutely not a look. Now I do my eyes last, so going on to my cheekbones. What I like to do is draw the line from here all the way to where my lips meet. Like that. And then I just bring all of this down. And I will pretty much fill this whole area practically. Now moving on to my under eyes. The biggest priority when I first start is getting the sides of the bridge of my nose straight, then bringing all this out to meet here, and then bringing this out and then filling the whole pocket in. So then here, same thing applied. And then under eyes. So now that I've used the brush to kind of get everything out to where I want it, I'm going to start blending. Now in the past, I did have a really small blender and a bigger one, but I got rid of those because they were obviously old, and now they're both the same size, but I know the difference by color. So this one is the main one I use to blend, and this one is the one that I use to really blur everything out and then pick up all the excess. That's pretty much more effective in my under eyes. So, okay, so the bottom is pretty much done. Now I'm gonna do this area up here. Now I'm blending out everywhere else. I kind of am more just doing it. I'm much more intentional on my under eyes. So what I do is when I start blending here, everything that builds up in the inner corner, I bring it up and I use it to conceal my eyelids. So I'm still trying to keep this line really straight on my nose. Kind of blend this, and now all the excess is gonna go right up here. And I don't like to do the whole thing because I do like to use a bronzer, but doing that is what helps the bronzer really have like an ombre on my eyelid. Now going here, bringing all of this out, meeting this with the cheekbone so that it pops out quite a bit. And before I do one more layer, I'm gonna go in with this one to, like I've said, pick up excess. And this beauty blender and the other one are both so fresh. They're like so stiff. And I already tried adding stuff to them. I don't like adding like water or anything, or even setting spray, because it always makes my makeup either really dry or really oily. So I found that leaving it dry is best for me, but these are just so new. They're so stiff. Lastly, to brighten my under eye just a little bit more, I'm gonna do one more layer right here. I'm not gonna use the brush, I'm just gonna blend out with the beauty blender. Now it's time for powders. I'm done with cream products entirely. I'm gonna use the Maybelline Fit Me in shade 15 Light. This is the loose powder, and the way that I use this, I literally twist it halfway, flip it, hit it once, and that's always like the right amount. I don't know what the theory is behind that, but it always works for me. So I do put a little bit on the beauty blender, and I kind of swirl it around here just a little bit. And then on the palm of my hand, I swirl it one more time, starting first on my chin. Again, like I did with the concealer, I'm really focusing it right here, but then the excess I will use to carve out my lip. I do a really good amount of layer with powder, So I really want it to be flat and porcelain. Now that the chin is done, using the side of the Beauty Blender, I'm gonna pick up in the same way, kind of swirl it around a little bit. Same thing. I kind of do this instead though on my hand, carving out my jaw. My cheekbones. And I'm gonna use the same system I did with the concealer. I'm gonna meet it to the side of my lips. I'm gonna get a good amount of powder. Kind of just bring it down. Then put a good amount on here. And then just fill the whole area. Now I'm gonna repeat the same thing on this side of my face. Now that we've done the bottom half of my face, I'm gonna go to the area between my eyebrows. So I kind of just do a little bit there and then just bring the rest out and up my forehead. Now time for the most crucial and somewhat difficult part. I'm gonna do this exactly how I did the concealer. My first priority is a straight line down the bridge of my nose. I got all in my nose. Out this way to lift the sides of my eyes. Now for my actual under eyes, I add powder like in 2 layers. So first layer, pretty light, just to kind of make sure everything is covered. This is more so to like set the concealer. Now I'm gonna do the other eye, same exact process. Getting around the mouth is very important, especially if you do lip combos. Okay, now I'm not one to bake, but I do like to give it just a second to sit on the skin and really settle in. I am gonna go one more time on the inner areas of my under eyes. That's always like my biggest problem area, so I like to be really intentional here. Okay, so now, because this is not like a loose powder, there's never nothing to really dust off, but I do like to use this. This is actually a brush that I broke, but the head is too good to get rid of it, so I just use it and kind of blur and just really bring out the powder a little bit in case that there is any excess. Now the last thing to really get my base together is some translucent powder. I use e.l.f. Perfect Finish. I don't know if this is really a full like translucent powder and it's pressed, but I've tried doing my makeup before without this step, and this just adds such a clean look and it brightens up the right areas. So I do a little bit right here on the chin, and I always do a pretty good layering of this. A little bit between the eyebrows. What I think is the most important, even more important than the under eyes, is getting under the cheekbone. This lifts my cheekbones like nothing else, but I have to make sure I get it exactly underneath where the bone is. And I will put a really good amount. It's also a really nice contrast with my bronzer. Now for the eyes, focusing it the most on my inner corner and really helping in keeping this bridge, like the line down the bridge of my nose, straight. The bone that's right here, I like to put some on that bone. It does add a lot in bringing out my eyes. And then whatever's left, I just use it to fill in the whole under eye. This does leave quite a bit of excess sometimes, so I have this really small fluffy brush by Bare Mineral, and I'm just gonna make sure it's all blended and all the excess is off. Inner area, I go back in with the brush I used earlier because this is just too hard to get it here. Now that our base is pretty much done, I'm gonna set really heavy layer of setting spray, the same Milani Make It Last. I just washed this robe and it's already so full of makeup again. I should have taken my fan out and had it already ready. That did not sound good. Now I really like to give my base time to sit with the setting spray, so I'm gonna go wash my hands, give it like 5 to 7-ish minutes. Okay, so now that it's set a bit, some days with this are better than others, but I will get tiny creases here and I just can't stand any creasing at all. So I go back in, and honestly sometimes I do this regardless even if I don't have any creasing, but I use the Maybelline Pressed Super Stay Powder in shade 130, and I get a little bit on the opposite side of the same powder puff that I used, and I just add it right here. And I, in a way, kind of like reset my under eyes. But it's pressed foundation powder, so it looks much more seamless, and I guess you can say hydrated than regular loose powder or regular setting powder or the translucent powder looks. And I'm kind of like prioritizing the same things, lifting the side of the eye, keeping the inner corner bright, and then just keeping all of this uniform in the middle. All the excess just goes around my mouth like earlier. Okay, so now with the amount of powder that I have on, I don't have to worry about my makeup going anywhere. So now adding some color and dimension to my face, I'm gonna use bronzer, blush, and highlighter. I'm going in at first with bronzer. For this, I'm using Charlotte Tilbury, and I use this in shade 3 Tan. I like a really fluffy and full, yet not like super large brush the size of this brush. Bronzer can be very pigmented, so not only do I only take one swipe, but I tap it off and I get it on my skin before I put it on my face, because if not, it will just be like a huge patch of bronzer wherever I first put the brush down. It's also very important to work this into your hairline so you don't have like that white line. And I am gonna put a pretty good amount of bronzer on this evening. I want a pretty warm face. I can't tell if my forehead is evenly bronzed or not. I feel like this side doesn't have as much as the other. I think it's just in my head. Now before I go and work on the center of my face, I like doing the top and then my jaw. Just a little bit. This I really like to blur out. I hate the harsh bronzer line on the jaw. I am covering a pretty good amount of my neck so that my head doesn't look like it's floating. Okay, so my jaw, I also saw someone with, I saw this makeup look where they put some bronzer on their chin, and I've never done that. I really liked how it looked, so we're trying that today. Hopefully it looks good in the end. I'm gonna try to blur it out a little bit here so it's not like a random like patch of bronzer. I like to focus this really solely on the actual bone, and I keep it really focused here until I feel like the brush has like given up all of the bronzer. Then I will start working the excess up my temples, but getting the most of it here, getting as little as possible up in this area. That side of my face is bronzed. Now going on to this side again, focusing it a whole lot on the bone. I'm getting a little bit on the eyelid, but I am going to come back in and really like focus on the eyelid with a smaller brush, so I'm not too concerned about covering much of my eyelid right now. Whatever I have left on here is going to go on my bridge. Now with this much smaller brush, I'm going to do my eyelids. The little bit of excess that is always left on here from the last time, I just put it under my nose just to lift the nose a little bit. Now for the eyelids, I honestly really cover everywhere, but out here I definitely like to make sure I'm going in an upwards direction. So I'm gonna get in the middle. I'm gonna cover all of this, make sure that it's really flat and fully covered. Usually like the first pass that I put covers all of this. Now I go back in one more time, and this is where I'm really gonna focus on lifting this area right here, and then bringing all the excess up here. I don't go up to my crease, I just keep it in here, and I leave that gap up there just empty. I will fill this area later with highlighter and then kind of like blur it together with the bronzer, and it usually works out. I did go too low right here, so I'm gonna go back in with this. Just get this line straight again with the leftover powder bronzer, powder foundation that's still on here. Works out perfectly. Now going on to this side, my light did just die, so for a second, it charges pretty fast, so I'm gonna do this while it's charging for a second. Okay, so bronzer is done. I also did go with the powder foundation and add a little bit right here. I liked how the separation was looking right in this area, so I did add a little bit of that powder foundation in these little spots right here. But next we're gonna go in with blush, and I'm gonna do it kind of in the same structure that I did the cream blush. So I'm going in with the only powder blush in this palette. This is the Beach Bonfire. And I'm gonna focus this most right here in this little corner. And not really even using much. Okay, and then a little bit up on this part of the temples, on the eyelids. That's literally it. I'm not a big blush girl, so I don't tend to use lots of it. And whenever I feel like it's like this to where these areas aren't blending, I'm gonna use this really large brush and literally just force it together. Now I am gonna go back in with whatever excess is left on here. Just put a little bit on the chin, a little bit on the forehead, and on the bottom of the nose. And that is it for that. Now, I do like to spray my setting spray before highlighter because setting spray does eat up your highlighter. So I'm gonna set this while it sits. We're gonna do my eyes, like my lashes, and my lips. While this all sets and melts together, I'm gonna take my lip off and come back once that's gone, and we can do my lips and my lashes. Okay, so I just cleaned the makeup off of my lips. I'm gonna leave them dry for a second so I can do my lashes first. I do layer 3 different mascaras, but of course, first thing I do is curl them. I am considering maybe adding little clusters in my corners. It depends on how good of a lash curl day I'm having. If they curl up really well, I won't do it, but if not, I practically have to. Okay, I might not have to today. The first mascara I go in with is Maybelline Surreal Falsies. This I use to focus more on the base to fill the bottom, make them look much more full. I will bring it up to the ends, but I'm not really too concerned about the ends. I'm just more so filling the base of my lashes. Now once I have that on, going in with Wet n Wild Breakup Proof. This one I'm gonna use to fill the full lash. So going to the base, bringing it up. This is going to give me the full coverage on my entire lash. I think my eyes look great without them. And they can weigh my eyes down sometimes, you know, I just don't like having them on. I'm really loving the bronzer on my chin. I don't know why I haven't done that sooner. I've always put blush on my chin. I don't know why I didn't think to put bronzer on my chin. Okay, and now for the last mascara. This one is really just to elongate them. I only use this on my tips. This is the Telescopic, I believe. Oh, it's almost entirely gone. But if I remember properly, this is the L'Oreal Telescopic Carbon Black. And I'm really only using this on my ends, just to elongate the lashes a bit, because I found that that's what this mascara is best for. Okay, perfect. Now, I don't do this every day, but on days where I feel like I can not use it per se, but it would be a nice touch to the look, I'll go in with a little bit of black liner on my waterline. And I do think today would be a nice day to use this, just a little bit. Kind of makes my eyes pop just a little bit, but not my eyes watering. I have like the most sensitive eyes on earth, not exaggerating. Medically, there is a defect in my eyes, so they are very sensitive. I definitely think I did more on one side than the other, but I don't think it's super apparent. So I'm not even gonna try to fix it, because usually when I try to fix really minor things like this, I just make them worse. I kind of think I do want, I feel like I keep going back in with this powder, but I'm gonna put a little bit more foundation powder on the inner part of my eyes. Okay, and now, before the lips, I do want to go in with my highlighter now, just to get it done. I'm using the NYX Buttermilk Highlighter in the shade BMH 10 Glaze It Butter Light Bronze. I like to use a really fanned out brush. Let's ignore how sparse and withered out mine is. I didn't even notice. One place I would say I love to apply this is literally all over my forehead. I just love that. A little bit right here where the dip of my chin is, and then the rest goes in this little pocket right here, of course. Just covering all of this. Same on the other side. Now for the more concentrated areas, I actually have 2 different brushes that I use, both small. This one is a little bit wider, like fluffier than this brush, very small. The bristles are very, very compact. This is really good for a really concentrated amount of highlighter. So I will pack it on quite a bit. Now this is going to be for my eyes, inner corners right here. That, and I'm gonna put quite a bit here because I have bigger eyes. I do like to open them up even more. I feel like my eyes are one of the most prominent features in my face, so I am quite a bit intentional with my eyes when it comes to my makeup. I'm gonna leave it like that for right now. I'm gonna come back, but for now, while I have a pretty good amount packed on, both inner corners are done. Now I'm gonna do some underneath the arch of my brow. Remember when I said earlier I blend out the highlighter with the bronzer? I'm gonna come back in a second. I just need to get it on there for now. Then of course, just the bridge of my nose and a little bit down here. Now with the fluffier brush, I'm gonna blur all of this quite a bit. And now it's time to blend this highlighter with the rest of my eyelid. Give me a bronzy, I mean, not bronze, ombre effect. I definitely put much more on this side, or it could really just be the lighting. The lighting can be a little deceiving to me sometimes. Now we're gonna set one more time and then go on to lips. I actually do want to do not really what I would call a lip combo per se, because I'm not using multiple things. I'm just using a liner and a clear gloss. I only like clear glosses. I don't like colors on my lips. This lip pencil is really, really close to my natural lip color on the outside. So what this does is it doesn't really show up like a liner. It just kind of makes my lips look more plump and full, but like in a pretty subtle way. This is e.l.f.'s Cream Glide Lip Liner in shade Mauve Aside. And I don't go everywhere. I just kind of cover the corner, and then I cover this corner. I do a little bit down here. This is really just more so to carve out the shape of my lips, like so. Then on the top, carve out the cute visual. That, and see how it doesn't really look like a super different color. It just looks like my lips are more full. Now I'm gonna bring it down and do a really, really thin line, carving out all the way down. If you don't like lipstick, any color on your lips, but you do want your lips to look a little bit dressed up and you're not one to do like full lip combos, the easiest thing you can do is just find a lip liner close to your natural lip color and then just line the outer part of your lips and then fill it with clear gloss. But I do want this to be more perfected, so I am gonna use the powder foundation and just clean up. Before applying anything to your lips, always make sure they're dry. And I'm choosing the plain regular e.l.f. I think it's, yeah, crystal clear in their Glow Reviver lip oil, which is so sad. This is a brand new bottle, and I'm about to tint, like the color is gonna get tinted. It's gonna become brown. Let me see if I still have my older one. Yeah, like it gets the clear color turns into like this mauve color, which does suck because it's a clear gloss, but at least I know to dedicate this completely to whenever I am gonna do this combo on my lips. See, I still look very close to my natural color, just more full and plump. Okay, now my setting spray has sat pretty well. So I've been putting on the Milani Make It Last for the whole face. Now to really, really set it completely to stay in place and last, I'm gonna use the L'Oreal Infallible. I'm gonna do one layer of this and then one more layer of the Milani just to rehydrate it. This is very much like hairspray, so it does kind of make the face look a little dry. So I do go back in one more time with one more layer of this to rehydrate the skin. I do like to melt with this too, which is why I keep applying this one. This really is just to hold it in place. And again, I'm going to use this that has glycerin in it to rehydrate my face. Wait till my face gets a little stiff. That's how I know it's really on. And then I'm going to go back in with this Milani one more time. Okay, I'm gonna pick up all this makeup mess that I have here and come back once this is really fully set and settled into the skin. Okay, so now that my makeup is done, it's time for the scariest part of the evening, which is taking these rollers out. I really hope that they sat properly in how I styled it with the iron. I'm a little bit nervous about the top, the front one on the top in the center. I really hope that one ends up. I definitely need to go restyle this really quickly in the bathroom. I'm trying to be really careful with the amount of oil that I'm putting because oil tends to weigh my hair down really bad. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get dressed. One more thing. I need to take the makeup, well, the lingering makeup off of my earrings.